Life unfolds in seasons, and sometimes we find ourselves looking back at years that seem lost, opportunities that slipped away, mistakes that led to pain, or circumstances that robbed us of joy. But no time is truly wasted in the eyes of God. He is a God of restoration, a God who redeems what was lost, and a God who turns ashes into beauty. If you have ever felt that your best days are behind you, take heart, for there are unmistakable signs that God is working to restore your wasted years. There is no such thing as lost time in the divine order of things. What you call wasted years are merely moments in which you were unaware of your power, unaware that all things are being worked together for your good. The idea that time has been stolen from you, that opportunities have passed you by, is only an illusion maintained by the mind that dwells in the past. The moment you shift your attention from what was to what is and what shall be, restoration begins. There is no force in heaven or on earth that can withhold from you what is rightfully yours when you assume the state of being that already possesses it. The past is not something that has happened to you, but something that you continue to carry with you. And as long as you believe you are bound by what once was, you will find evidence of it everywhere you look. But the moment you abandon the old story, the moment you decide that you are no longer defined by your past experiences, you are made new. It is not time that needs to be restored. It is your awareness of who you are. The instant you accept the truth that you are whole, that nothing has been truly lost, you step into the fulfillment of all things. You will know that restoration has begun when you feel peace where once there was regret. The heavy burden of what could have been, what should have been, will lift, not because circumstances have changed, but because you no longer give them power over you. And in that moment, the outer world begins to shift. The things you thought were lost forever begin to return, not always in the form they once took, but in greater, fuller expressions. The love that seemed to have passed you by, the opportunities that once slipped through your fingers, the years that you thought were wasted, will reappear in ways more magnificent than you ever imagined. When you accept this truth, you will no longer wait for restoration. You will walk in it. You will no longer ask when things will change, for you will already know that they have. The mind that still looks for proof outside of itself has not yet fully accepted its own power. But the moment you declare it is done and truly believe it, the world has no choice but to follow. The same force that seemed to take away will now return in abundance. The relationships, the dreams, the prosperity, all will flow back to you in divine order. Nothing has been wasted. Nothing has been lost. Everything has simply been waiting for you to claim it. The years you thought were gone have only been stored, ready to be given back to you the moment you awaken to your true self. And when you do, you will look back and see that what you once called loss was only preparation for the greater glory that was always meant to be yours. You are never truly at the mercy of time, for time itself is but a reflection of your state of being. What you call wasted years, lost opportunities, or unfulfilled dreams are not gone. They are only waiting for you to claim them anew. The past holds no power unless you continue to give it life through your thoughts and emotions. The moment you shift from regret to certainty, from longing to fulfillment, all that you thought was lost begins its return. Nothing has been taken from you that cannot be restored, for the Creator wastes nothing, and in divine order all things find their way back to those who know they are worthy. The world outside is merely a shadow cast by the beliefs you hold within. If you see yourself as someone who has lost time, who has missed their season, then life will reflect that belief in every way. You will see evidence of delay, doors that seem closed, and moments that feel like reminders of what could have been. But the instant you decide that you are no longer bound by what was, you step into the truth that time is your servant, not your master. The restoration of your years is not a future event. It begins the moment you assume the feeling of having already received it. The first sign that restoration is happening is a deep, unshakable peace. Where there was once frustration and doubt, there is now a knowing. This is not a passive acceptance, but a living awareness that what was seemingly lost was never lost at all. The love that seemed to fade, the dreams that felt abandoned, the time that appeared to slip through your fingers, all of it is being gathered back into your life, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. You may not see the full manifestation immediately, but you will sense its reality. And that inner shift is all that is needed for the outer world to follow. The second sign is that opportunities will begin to appear, not because they weren't there before, but because now you are tuned into them. The same world that once seemed barren now overflows with possibilities. People you never expected to reconnect with will reappear. Doors that were once shut will now open effortlessly, and ideas that had long been forgotten will come alive again with renewed energy. Somewhere along, those ideas will begin to seem within you and do dictate you. This is not coincidence. It is the natural response to your internal alignment. The restoration of your years does not come through striving nor through regret, but through knowing. It is the awareness that what is meant for you can never truly be lost. The moment you embrace this, you will find that everything you once thought was beyond your reach was simply waiting for you to see yourself as the one who already possesses it. And as you walk forward with this knowing, time itself will bow to your realization, returning to you in ways more beautiful, more abundant, and more miraculous than you ever imagined. There comes a moment when the past no longer defines you, when what seemed wasted is revealed to have only been preparation, the years you thought were lost, the time that appeared stolen, the dreams that felt out of reach. They were never truly gone. They were waiting, hidden beneath layers of doubt, until you were ready to reclaim them. And now, as you shift into a state of certainty, life itself begins to reflect that change. What was once delay becomes acceleration. What was once regret transforms into wisdom, and what was once lost is restored, not as it was, but in a far greater measure. The most undeniable signs that your wasted years are being restored is the reawakening of desire within you. That which you had resigned yourself to believe was over suddenly stirs again, stronger than before. It is not a longing for the past, nor a wish for what could have been, but an inner knowing that it is still yours to. The dream that once burned in you, the vision that once consumed your thoughts, the path that once seemed certain before detours appeared, these things return not as memories, but as living possibilities. And with this reawakening, you no longer question if restoration is coming. You simply know. The sign is that the right people, the right circumstances, and the right opportunities begin to align effortlessly. What once required struggle now unfolds with ease. The connections you thought were severed suddenly mend, and new ones appear, seemingly out of nowhere. You are not chasing after what you have lost. Rather, life is now delivering it to you. The relationships that were strained find healing. the closed doors begin to open, and the resources you once needed now flow freely. Not because the world has changed, but because you have. And the world, being nothing more than a reflection of your inner state, must shift accordingly. The sign is an acceleration that defies logic. What once took years now happens in moments. The growth, the progress, the manifestations, everything unfolds at a pace you never imagined possible. Time, which once seemed to be your greatest enemy, now becomes your ally. There is no longer a sense of waiting, no lingering feeling of delay. Instead, there is an unfolding, a momentum that gathers speed with each passing day. What seemed impossible just yesterday is now inevitable. The restoration of your wasted years does not come slowly, as if to make up for lost time. It comes in a flood, washing over you with abundance. And so, as you continue in this state of certainty, you will find life responds in kind. What you once called wasted years were never wasted at all. They were only paused, waiting for you to claim them once more. And as you step into the fullness of this realization, you will see the evidence unfold before you, proving that nothing was ever lost, only waiting to be restored in a measure beyond anything you could have asked or imagined. There is a moment when the weight of the past no longer binds you, when what seemed lost begins to reappear, not as it was, but as something far greater. The years you thought were wasted, the time that felt stolen, the opportunities that seemed to slip through your fingers, none of it was truly gone. Life does not take without the power to give back. What you have perceived as loss was only the preparation for an even greater restoration. And now, as you align yourself with the certainty of this truth, you begin to see evidence unfold before you. One undeniable sign of restoration is the deep sense of peace that settles within you. Where once there was regret, now there is acceptance. Where once there was longing, now there is trust. It is not resignation, but a quiet knowing that all is being arranged in your favor. You no longer dwell in the past, replaying what could have been. Instead, you rest in the assurance that nothing was ever truly taken from you. Life does not move backward, it only expands. And so you begin to walk in a peace that surpasses understanding, because you know that restoration is not coming, it is already happening. As this peace grows, so too does your vision. Suddenly you see beyond what is in front of you. The limitations that once seemed so real now dissolve, and in their place, endless possibilities arise. What you once called failure is now a lesson. What you once called delay is now divine timing. The road ahead, which once seemed unclear, now opens effortlessly before you. You do not need to force anything into place, for all things are aligning in perfect order. The desires that once felt distant now feel inevitable, because you understand that the power to receive them has always been within you. Then, without effort, an unshakable confidence begins to take root. It is not the kind of confidence that relies on external proof, nor is it something that can be given or taken away. It is the realization that what belongs to you cannot be lost. You move differently, speak differently, think differently, not because of what is already manifested, but because you no longer doubt that it will. There is no hesitation, no uncertainty. You no longer hope for restoration, you expect it. And in that expectation, it becomes reality. And so, the years you once believed were wasted return to you in greater measure. The experiences, the opportunities, the joy, none of it was lost. It was only waiting for you to be ready to receive it. Time bends, circumstances shift, and what once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. There is no need to chase, to struggle, to strive. You are no longer reaching for something outside of you. Instead, you stand still in the unwavering faith that all things are being restored, and because of that, they must be. There is a moment when all things begin to align, when the years you thought were wasted reveal themselves not as loss, but as preparation. The struggle, the disappointment, the seasons of delay, they were never meant to break you. They were refining you, making space within you for something far greater than what you had imagined. And now, as you step forward in faith, you will witness the unfolding of what has always been yours. A sign of this unfolding is the sudden and undeniable presence of divine connections. People, opportunities, and circumstances begin to appear in ways that defy explanation. Where once doors were closed, they now swing open effortlessly. What seemed impossible before now happens with ease. The right words, the right support, the right relationships, everything arrives precisely when you need it, not because you are striving for them, but because you have aligned yourself with the certainty that they were always meant to find you. As these connections multiply, so too does the evidence of provision. Where there was once lack, there is now abundance. It does not come through struggle, nor does it require force. Instead, it arrives as a natural outflow of your belief. The resources, the opportunities, even the restoration of things you once believed were gone forever, everything flows effortlessly into your life. And as it does, you no longer wonder if you are worthy, if you deserve it. You simply accept it, knowing that it is a reflection of what has always been promised to you. Then comes the undeniable shift within. The fears that once held you back dissolve, replaced by an unshakable inner confidence. You no longer question whether restoration is possible. You know it is inevitable. Doubt no longer finds a place in your mind because the evidence around you is too overwhelming to ignore. You walk differently, speak differently, move through life with a certainty that does not require external proof. You do not need to see the full picture to know that it is already complete. The final realization dawns. The years were never wasted at all. Every struggle, every moment of despair, every delay was simply a step in the unfolding of something far greater than you could have imagined. The restoration is not merely a return to what was, but an expansion into something even greater. The time you thought was lost is returned to you, but not in the way you expected. It is returned in wisdom, in strength, in opportunities beyond what you once believed possible. You no longer question whether the wasted years will be restored. You do not wonder if things will turn in your favor. You understand now that they already have. What was meant for you has always been waiting for you, and now, as you step into the fullness of that truth, you see it unfold before your very eyes. Nothing was lost. Nothing was wasted. It was all leading you here, to this moment, to this realization, to this unshakable knowing that all things are being made new. There comes a time when all the years of pain, regret, and disappointment reveal themselves not as wasted, but as necessary. Every moment of despair, every setback, every tear shed in silence, they were never signs of abandonment. They were the unseen hands shaping you, preparing you for something far greater than what you could have imagined. And now, as you begin to awaken to this truth, you will witness the undeniable unfolding of what was always meant to be yours. One of the greatest signs that your years are being restored is the transformation of your inner world. What once caused you pain no longer holds the same power. You no longer dwell on the past with regret, but see it through new eyes. Eyes that recognize that nothing was ever truly lost. You begin to see how every experience, even those you once called failures, was guiding you, strengthening you, and making you into the person you are now. You stop asking why things happened the way they did and start seeing the divine order behind every event. And as your mind shifts, so does your reality. Opportunities begin to appear where once there were only closed doors. What once seemed impossible now unfolds naturally before you. The people, the resources, the relationships that once felt out of reach now find their way to you without force. The struggle disappears because you have aligned yourself with the understanding that everything is already yours. There is no more need to chase, to beg, to plead. You know that what is meant for you cannot be taken away. Then, as if overnight, the weight you carried for so long begins to lift. The pain, the disappointment, the lingering thoughts of what could have been, they fade into insignificance. There is no longer space for them in your heart, for something greater has taken their place. Peace. And this peace is not something that comes and goes based on circumstance. It is a knowing that stays with you, an awareness that no matter what happens around you, nothing can shake what has already been set in motion. You begin to see signs everywhere. What once seemed like coincidences are now clear confirmations that you're on the right path. The words you needed to hear, the doors that suddenly open, the moments of clarity that come at exactly the right time, none of it is random. It is all a reflection of the shift that has taken place within you. And because you now walk with certainty, life mirrors that certainty back to you in ways you never expected. And finally, you understand the years were never wasted. The pain was never meaningless. The delays were never denials. Everything had a purpose. Every moment of waiting, every setback, every tear was simply leading you to this realization that nothing was ever truly lost. Time itself bends to the one who knows their restoration is inevitable. What is meant for you will always find its way back, not as it once was, but as something far greater than you ever dared to believe. Nothing is ever truly wasted when placed in the hands of the divine. What may have seemed like lost years, filled with regret, pain, or missed opportunities, were in fact shaping you, preparing you, and refining you for something greater. Every moment of waiting, every setback, every trial was not in vain. It was a necessary path to bring you into alignment with the restoration that is now unfolding. When you see the signs, when you feel the stirring within, know that restoration is not just possible, it is inevitable. The years that the locusts have eaten will be repaid not merely in time, but in abundance, wisdom, and purpose. You are not forgotten. The delay was never denial. It was divine orchestration. Now, as you step forward in faith, open your heart and believe, you will see how every tear, every struggle, and every moment of perseverance was leading you to a future far greater than your past. The restoration has already begun. Embrace it.